All right, everybody, we're going to do a live YouTube session here about SEO for SaaS and software companies. And today I'm with Nick Swan. Hey, Nick, how's it going?
Hey, Justin. Hey, yeah, good, thank you.
And I became familiar with Nick through his app, which you should all go check out, called Sanitycheck. Here's a little preview. It's nice. It's got some clicks per day, impressions per day. CTR, average page position, CTR. Look at my CTR. My CTR went way down. And also some other things like this keyword tracking tool. Can you explain this a little bit, Nick, this page here?
Yeah, so this uses, well, the whole point of Sanitycheck is it uses the data from Google Search Console. So Google Search Console only makes 90 days worth of data available to you. So the first reason of building the tool was to archive that data. And then once I started archiving the data, there was some other cool stuff that I could do around it. So the keyword tracking is just one of these things. And so this takes the actual keyword position from Google Search Console rather than a lot of other tools that scrape the Google search results.
Yeah.
And how accurate those are that scrape search results, you know, is all up for debate, from localization and personalization of results and stuff like that. So
yeah.
So yeah, this is a good way of getting some kind of good data from Google on your keywords and where they are in Google.
Cool. And I could add a new keyword if I wanted to.
Yeah.
And then we have a testing feature. I haven't used this yet. What's this for?
Yeah, so this is kind of another reason of building the tool. So I was doing lots of SEO testing around new titles and metadata descriptions and stuff like that, and just tracking all the changes in an Excel spreadsheet. And I had a website that had like 700 pages that I was doing tests on and stuff like that, and it was just getting a pain to try and track all of this in Excel. And so, again, from archiving the data, I was like, well, you know, I can automate some of this collecting of data around the tests that I'm doing. And so you can make a change to your website or an individual page, then come in and create an SEO test, and it will take 6 weeks worth of data previously, and compare it to 6 weeks after you've made the change. So you can see whether the change has, you know, had a positive effect on your site or page, or a negative effect, and then you can make a decision what to do around it.
Cool. And you were saying right before we hit go on record, I guess I should say, start broadcast is what I'm looking for. I was saying, you know, my interest in SEO lately is I feel like it's a channel that a lot of software and SaaS companies don't use. Content marketing is really kind of hot right now. You know, social media, all those kinds of things. But you were saying a lot of folks have tried Sanitycheck out, and what's the response been so far?
Yeah, so I guess there's kind of 3 communities that I've kind of told about the product, just as to try and get some early beta or alpha users, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
There's Micropreneur Academy, my own podcast that I do with a friend called Martin. We have some other bootstrappers, solo founders who listen to that. And so we had some people who have built SaaS software by themselves, or, you know, as part of a team or whatever, who've been using the tool. And I've been gathering feedback from them, which has been really useful. And I've kind of looked through their site and their data, again, just to try and see if I can, you know, make the data useful for them and come up with suggestions for them. But to try and get people to actually take action on those suggestions, where I can say, you know, if you create a page around this topic or keyword and content, it's actually really hard to get them to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a number of reasons for that. The first one is it can take a few months for SEO changes to have an impact on your site.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you're a solo bootstrapper and you've only got a limited amount of time, you want to do stuff that you see an immediate effect with.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, from that same point of view as well, it depends what channel you're used to targeting. So I've always done SEO, so it's kind of my default fallback, the first thing I'll always try to get working.
Yeah.
Whereas it seems lately the bootstrapping community are more focused on the paid channels, such as AdWords or Facebook ads or Twitter ads. And so they seem to prefer to spend money on stuff and do it that way.
Yeah. And the way I've been describing it lately is, if you see an ad, or you see a blog post, or you see a launch on Product Hunt, that's all very kind of recreational web surfing. You know, you're kind of looking at something else and then maybe passively aware of this thing. But let's say that you have, an email marketing tool. If I'm not looking for an email marketing tool, or I haven't been thinking about it, it's very likely I'm not going to care. I'm not going to buy. Whereas SEO is very like action driven. Like I'm going to Google, I'm typing in email marketing for whatever because I want something right now. I'm interested in finding a solution. And everything else is a lot more passive. Not to say they're bad channels, but it seems like SEO has this advantage in that people are often ready to buy when they start searching.
I can kind of see how this is coming. If anyone who's been following you and what you've been doing and learning around the jobs to be done, and kind of the intent-based searching, as you're calling it now, you can see how you're going from the jobs to be done to leading people to actually searching for something and finding something that will do that job that they want to be done.
Yes, exactly. And so much of it is based, like, I often think about, somebody waking up and going, okay, this is the day I solve this problem. Like I've had it. I've been putting this off for too long. I've got to figure this out now. Or, there's often a push, I should say. There's often something that's pushing you to say, you've got to solve this problem now. You've got to go search. And, an example I've been using lately is me going and searching for a bag to take to Scotland. And here, let's see if I can share my screen here. So, I went to Google and I typed in, where's my window here? Here we go. Went to Google and I typed in, at first I was like, what is that? Is it a Meinl bag? And so I was looking at this. Okay, here's this bag here. But then I noticed, look, and my links are still purple, so we can see that I visited them. So first I checked out the Meinl, and then I was like, oh, what's this? Meinl carry-on versus Tortuga. And I started looking here, and I ended up buying this bag. I ended up buying this one here. And it was all like a day of Google searching where I was like, all right, this is it. I'm going to solve this problem today. I'm going to figure this out today, and I'm going to buy. And if Tortuga hadn't had that search result, this is actually a really good trick I've seen people use. Is they're not Meinl, but they show up Meinl versus Tortuga. That's actually a trick I've been telling people to use. If you can have a versus or like Meinl alternatives. Let's see what comes up for this. And so now we've got a bunch of bags here, and then the Tortuga comes up here as well. But if they hadn't had the smarts to optimize for those keywords, I would have maybe never found them, right?
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, and I mean, knowing who your competitors are, right? Like you said in one of the videos in Tiny Marketing Wins, knowing who your competitors are and taking a look at their SEO strategy and how they're doing it and the keywords they target is all part of it as well. So yeah.
So when you were saying, sometimes I go to these clients and I say, if you just targeted this, you would get more traffic. How are you finding those keywords? How do you know that if they invested a little bit of time that they would get a return on that?
So I thought there's a bit of a breakup then. Is it all right? Is the recording okay?
Yeah, we're still good. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, it's looking through Google Search Console data at the moment is where I'm getting most of my kind of SEO insights. And you can look through the data either within Google Search Console itself or within sanitycheck. And there's two ways to go at it, I guess, is either use a tool like Ahrefs and go and just look for the ideal keywords that you should be targeting, or look for keywords that your site already appears for, but that you're not particularly ranking well for. So you're on page 2 or page 3. And I'm finding a lot of the low-hanging fruit is going after those keywords on page 2 and page 3 that you're not yet targeting. Because your site's already ranking reasonably well for them. So if you go and either tidy up a page and make it a bit more focused around that keyword and that topic, or if you don't have a page that directly targets that keyword yet, go and create one, then your site's got a great chance for ranking for that one. And
in Google Search Console, a lot of those, like, the only reason something would show up in your search analytics there is if you had some sort of content around that keyword before, correct?
Yeah. So you either just having an impression within the search results. So you just show up on, the results page for someone. Even if you get no clicks for it, it'll still be recorded in there. But if you have a keyword that's on page 10, and someone searches for that keyword, but they don't page all the way through to page 10, it won't show up for you. It's only if they click through to the page that keyword is on.
Yeah. Okay. Here, let me show folks what Nick is talking about here in Search Console. So this is for my personal site, justinjackson.ca. By the way, date ranges are funny. I always like to set the date range to the maximum possible. I don't know why. Like, I always find that the last 7 days for me personally, maybe I just don't have enough traffic, isn't very interesting. Is that just because I don't have as much traffic as some folks, you think?
Yeah, I mean, the more traffic you have, obviously the more data you've got to work with. And the maximum dates that you can go back with are still 90 days as well. That's all that's available through Search Console. So that was another reason for building sanitycheck here. Yeah,
so your sanity check is checking all of these. It's recording all of these and archiving them.
Exactly, yeah.
And so, all of these keywords here are things I've written about, or, I've got Happy Pop Soda, which that's an old blog post. Actually, this is a good question. Some of us have sites where we maybe started talking about one thing and then pivoted to another. If I'm still getting these clicks for Happy Pop Soda, it's not helping me at all. I should probably remove that content, shouldn't I?
I think it depends on your site. If it's a personal blog that you're just writing about things that you like, Happy Pop Soda, then it doesn't really matter. But if you're, if the site is based around your business and you want to get highly targeted traffic, then you want to kind of try and stay on topic.
Mm-hmm. And so if I'm going after, now my business is really helping software and SaaS companies grow. How I help them improve their product and their marketing. In this case, Happy Pop Soda. Here's Vika Bisk, which is a IKEA desk review I did. Those aren't helping me out if I want to build some domain authority around this here.
No, I wouldn't say so. No.
Yeah. All right. So, I've just heard that it's better to delete low performing content and content that you maybe are ranking for, but isn't at all about what you're trying to go after, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I mean, it's, the advice has changed from years ago when it used to be just publish thousands of articles and target every single keyword with an individual page and stuff. It's now certainly a lot more about quality content, and trying to be the authoritative website on a particular topic. The better job you can do about that, the better you'll rank.
Yeah,
it's still links are still important, as is Rank Brain, their machine learning and part of the algorithm and stuff. But as a piece that you can directly affect, which is the content. Yeah, that's a really important part still.
Now, for competitive keywords, like what I just showed you are the keywords that I'm ranking for right now, and I can see those in Google Search Console. But if I wanted to find other things that maybe I should be ranking for, but I'm not, what tools are you using to do that?
The only one I use is Ahrefs.
Okay, yeah.
Which is probably one of the best tools out there for this at the moment. There's a lot of SEO tools around, but I see you've mentioned them in your videos as well, and there's certainly the one that I pay for that's worth using their keyword tool for.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people advise to use the Google AdWords tool. I've personally not found that one very helpful lately. Do you think it still has some value?
Do you know, AdWords is one of the things I've stayed away from because of always, whenever I've spent money on it, I don't think I've got the value from it that I should have done. And so, but from reading around, what's been happening with AdWords, they've been making that part of their tool less and less useful, more and more murky or cloudy, I would say. And so, yeah, I don't think it's as useful as it used to be.
Yeah. Let's actually dive into our case study right now. So I'm doing an SEO series on tiny marketing wins. Some of the videos are free and some of them are inside of tinymarketingwins.com. And I'll also be doing a series of live interviews like this. So I've got Nick today. Tomorrow I have Brennan Hufford, and we're just going to be exploring how to improve roadmaps search results. And so I generated the report in Ahrefs. Do you say Ahrefs?
Yeah, how do you say it?
I say
I like to say Hrefs, but they don't have that domain.
Hrefs, yeah. Anyway, I say everything wrong, but ahrefs.com. Here's the report. So Nick, if I go into this now, what kinds of things would you be looking for in this report?
Oh, you put me on the spot now. I didn't
It's
know we
okay.
were
You
looking
don't.
at someone else's site, but that's okay. That's all right. Well, the first thing is looking at how many domains they've got pointing at their website and how many backlinks.
Okay, so
the one thing I'd say that's looking a bit suspicious about this one
yeah,
is they've got 90 domains kind of pointing to them, but they've got a huge number of backlinks for some reason, 15.2 thousand.
yeah. I think
so whenever you're doing anything, go on, sorry.
My hypothesis is this is the Product Hunt effect. So they're on multiple pages on Product Hunt, which are providing backlinks, even though it's one domain, but like thousands of pages. But sorry, continue.
But if you click on it as well, it should tell us how many links are coming from each domain, I think.
Okay, let's take a look here.
I know I tell a lie. So if you go back again, we have to look at the domains. I think it tells you on there how many links are coming from each one.
So let's look at the referring domains.
Yeah, so you're right, exactly. Yeah, it's a Product Hunt. There's 14,000 odd coming from there.
Yeah, and so that's not. How does that affect like if you have a bunch of backlinks, but they're coming from maybe one domain? Does that hurt you, or what's the?
No, I don't
there?
think so. Not from an authoritative site like Product Hunt. I think you'll be fine.
Okay.
I mean, like a lot of web design companies put in their footers still. The name of the company that's done the web design for that, and so on and so forth. And Google will now, I think, rather ignore those links rather than give credit for them. So yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about those.
Gotcha. And so what's interesting here, like if we keep going, we might say, okay, who is this? Like where missing letter, why are they linking to our site? Like are those the kinds of questions you're asking? What's interesting and actionable about this list?
Well, the interesting part really is more looking at your competitors' part of this list. So when you put in their domain name, is looking at what sites they're getting links from, and then if it's applicable, is going and approaching those sites and saying, hey, I've seen you've linked to these people. We've got a tool that's similar and better in this particular way, or does this thing differently. Would you like to review it or link to it, or use your charm to try and get a link from them too.
Gotcha. So even though they might have a link to our competitor, it's still worth it for us to go after those as well?
Yeah, because you might find that a lot of the sites that are linking to them are doing lists, like the top 10 product tools or the top 10 SaaS companies for doing X, Y, and Z. Yeah. So if you go and let them know that there's a new kid on the block that does a better job, then either they might put a link in there for you, or the next time they're doing a roundup, they'll think to include you too.
Gotcha. And competitively, it's okay to have a backlink from a similar site as your competitor.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's no harm in that whatsoever.
Interesting. Okay, so let's actually go back here. This is already helpful. So you would do the same kind of comparison. I don't know if I can do it live. I haven't started paying for Ahrefs yet. So here, let's just go to so Roadmap does product roadmaps. So let's just type in product roadmap, see who else. Oh, and actually, maybe this is a good time for me to show you another trick I've been using. Not you, Nick, you already know this, but if you look at these results here, these are all personalized for me. And I've been adding this right here, which is basically sets personalization to 0. And then adding this geolocation, which which makes it seem like I'm from the United States. And then I get actually, add this here. I actually get very different results based on once I remove personalization than I did when I had personalization on. So productplan.com. Let's see what happens if we can generate that while we're kind of talking. Okay, so if we went into their referring domains, they've got a lot more.
Yeah, you can see they've got a lot more. I guess they're probably a product that's been going for quite a while, maybe.
Yeah. So they also have Product Hunt, but then they've got the blog at the government of the UK. Then they've got this site here. So you would be looking at these kinds of things and going, I wonder if any of these might be interested in, linking to our site as well. Like here's a blog.
Certainly. Yeah. And if you go back to Hrefs again, if down the left-hand side, there's the backlinks, and then there's new, and it will tell you the new lists that they've recently got, new backlinks that they've got. So obviously, if someone's just written about productplan.com and you go out and reach out to them quite quickly, because that's still fresh in their mind, you're perhaps more likely to get a reply and
gotcha.
if they just update their article and so on.
Yeah, like if we look at this one, this looks like you can submit. In this case, we could even submit a link ourselves if we wanted to. Interesting. Yeah, I can see how this would be helpful and would give people some steps. Like, here's some things you can try. Like, here's some sites you could try to reach out to and see, if they're worth, like this one here. I probably wouldn't, because this doesn't look like a very high quality site to me. But
yeah, you have to use your own judgment on each one, certainly.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So we've already kind of set up a few action steps from just what we've seen so far. Is there anything else you would be looking at, or are those the big ones?
There's a couple of things, I guess. They're keywords that they're targeting. So this is again what you covered in your video, the organic keywords.
Yeah.
And then top pages as well. So seeing which are the top pages on their site.
And I think
just having a look and seeing what kind of content they cover.
Gotcha. So this will tell us how much traffic they're getting for each of these pages. And this one here is kind of killing it for them. It's content around being a product manager. And we noticed
and so this gives you the opportunity, as we kind of said earlier on, of trying to create the best page on a particular topic.
Yeah.
So you can see that for these guys, this particular topic is one of their better performing pages. But there's no reason why you can't look at that page and say, well, do you know what? I think I can do a better job than what they've done so far.
Yeah.
Go and create your page that's all up to date resources and so on.
Yeah.
And then again, who's linking to that individual page and say, hey, look, I see you've linked to this page on Product Plan.
Yeah.
I've got a better resource or a more up-to-date resource. Do you fancy giving it a link or whatever, or having a read? Not being so you don't ask so directly for a link.
Yeah.
Just say, I thought you might want to take a look at it and so on.
Yeah. And the other thing that's interesting to me is kind of competitively, we can see they're getting a lot of traffic for Product Manager, and maybe our initial kind of theory or plan would be, we got to target product roadmap, but this may be an indicator that product managers are the kinds of people buying this kind of software or are interested in this kind of software, or they might know something that we don't. And that's kind of interesting to me. It would at least be worth testing yourself to see if targeting those keywords increases conversion, right? So if all of a sudden you do a bunch of product manager content, and all of a sudden you're getting a ton of signups from that cohort, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Let's just so we got Ruben Gamez in the chat. Ruben loves your product. That's a great testimonial. Do you have him on your homepage yet, Nick?
No, I'm not sure he's using it yet, actually, so I'll have to drop him an email.
Well, there you go. Now you're going to have to drop him a line.
Good.
And I would love to have Ruben do one of these live interviews as well. So far we've said check out the referring domains, check out backlinks and this is both for your competitors, and then take a look at organic keywords and top pages. Is there anything else we should be looking at in Ahrefs for that might be actionable? In
Ahrefs?
Yeah.
There's the Keyword Explorer, and again, so I'm only going through the parts of this tool that I use, and Ahrefs is a massive tool, so there's probably bits that I'm missing out. But yeah, I use the Keyword Explorer as well. So you can go in there. I'm not sure if you need a paid plan to be able to use that.
Where is that? Is that under organic?
No, it's up at the very top.
Up at the very top. Okay. So this product here. And so how would you be using this?
This is kind of like the Google AdWords keyword tool. So you can just type in keywords and it will tell you what the traffic's going to be or what their estimation of the traffic's going to be. Suggest you other keywords and things like that.
So I just put in product roadmap and it's giving us search volume, clicks.
What's also useful as well is the little kind of dial up at the top left, which shows you the keyword difficulty.
Yeah.
And they also give you an estimation of how many backlinks you need to be able to rank in the top 10 for that keyword too.
Yeah, I noticed this the other day, really, and I find that so helpful. Even if, let's say, this is off by a little bit, knowing that, okay, I'll need backlinks from about 6 websites, at least gives you a ballpark on how many sites you're going to have to approach and how many sites you might need.
Yep, definitely. And I mean, if you're we've been mentioning just writing an article and go and telling people about it, but if guest blogging is part of your strategy, you can then work out as well and say, well, I know I've got to get 6 guest posts to try and get that keyword to rank. If you can manage to get those guest posts to link through to that page and so on.
Yeah.
It certainly helps with setting a target, and it just takes out the unknown a bit.
It's interesting because I've been kind of anti guest blogging from a content marketing standpoint, because it just seems like so much work to make all that content for someone else's site. But from an SEO perspective, if you have an authoritative site, then that might be worth doing, isn't it?
Oh, totally. I mean, there's loads of things that you do as an entrepreneur and doing startup stuff. So people who speak at conferences, they usually have a bio on the conference page and stuff like that. Make sure that's got a link to your website. That passes SEO juice over. If there's a conference in your industry, then it can always be worth seeing if there's a sponsorship package that you can afford, because again, that can give a link through to your website. There's so many various things that you do and events that you go to and stuff like that. Just make sure wherever you do have a profile, or you can fill out a profile or whatever, that you can put a link in. Make sure you do put a link to your website, because it all helps.
Yeah. And this is probably a good time for us to, let's just transition briefly into my own problems. So I've been talking to you offline and some other folks too about my big problem these days is my most recognizable brand was Justin Jackson. And you can see that if you type in Justin Jackson, my problem is there's an American basketball player who is playing for the Sacramento Kings in the NBA. And so if I used to have justinjackson.ca used to be front page, and even anecdotally, like you asked me, if my search traffic had been affected, and I think it has. But even anecdotally, people at the conference were saying, I searched for you of this conference, and they either thought that there was a basketball player speaking at a programmers conference, or they thought, they couldn't find me, so they're like, whatever. And so, some of the advice I've been getting lately is I need to, and actually this was advice I was getting before, is I had way too many websites. I had justinjackson.ca, I had tinymarketingwins.com, I had megamaker.co, I had devmarketing.xyz, and I could probably keep listing some more. buildandlaunch.net. I've got a lot of domains. And so, and you were actually one of the people that said, Justin, you should really put all of this under one domain. First of all, why do you recommend that? Why should someone like me have everything under one domain?
Well, from just a personal anecdotal kind of reason is that, I've listened to your podcast for a while. I've bought a few of your products, and some of them, I'll be honest, because you've got so many different products and things like that, I can't remember what I have and haven't bought.
Yeah.
And so what would be useful to me would be to have one site to go to log in, and I can see then what I have and haven't bought, and decide whether to buy other stuff or not. So I don't want to go and buy Jolt if I've already bought it once before, which I could quite easily make that mistake.
Yeah.
But as we were just going through, one of the three most important things of SEO still is links. And if you're creating a new domain and website for each of your new projects or your new books or whatever, you've got to try and get links into each of those different domains to try and get it to rank for the particular subjects it's on.
Yeah.
And it's hard enough these days to get links to one domain, never mind 8 domains. So you would have a lot more joy, I think, in having all those products under one umbrella. And it'll make it easier to build one single brand around yourself, not necessarily around your name now, as we found out, but around whatever you choose, and so that when people hear it or see it, they know it's you. And when you bring something else out as well, and they see the brand that's behind it, they'll know it's you and the quality of the work behind it. And then your fans and true fans will buy it, whatever.
Yeah, and this is feedback. It's interesting how in this case the SEO advice matches up with the branding advice, which is if you have one kind of umbrella brand or something that people know, and they can always go there and see what they've bought, like you said, or see what you have, or there's just one location as opposed to multiple locations. It really does make it harder from a branding perspective for people to know where to find you. But also from an SEO perspective, I've splintered all my efforts, right? So if I want to build up, like I said, if my focus now is helping software companies grow, and I want to build a brand around that, it's going to be a lot easier if I have one place where that happens. And if I think about it, I've got articles on Dev Marketing and Tiny Marketing Wins and justinjackson.ca that are all talking about that topic. So I'm competing against myself right now, aren't I?
Indeed, yeah. I think there's certain scenarios, the approach that you've taken, there's certain scenarios where that would work. And one of them is if you did ever want to spin one of those products off and sell it, and obviously it's got its own site and its own brand, and the person would buy that and take it off you. I don't know what your long-term plans are, but I don't think you never made any noise before about wanting to sell any of your books or products or courses or anything as a wholesale type thing. So I would say it makes it a lot more sense to have it under one brand. And again, from an SEO perspective, I think I always try to think what Google thinks looks natural from a website's point of view. And so if you have a website, it's easy to get links into that main domain page, like your home page. But what looks natural is links into subpages and subdirectories of a website as well. So if therefore you've got, megamaker.co, whatever you decide to go with, / product people / whatever, and when you release those new products, you're going to get links into those subpages and subdirectories and so on. I think that looks quite natural to Google as well. So that will all help too.
There's an advantage there. Okay, so quickly, what should I do? I'd like to keep justinjackson.ca, and I'm going to keep some articles on there, but everything else I want to move to megamaker.co. So obviously there must be tools that help you do this, that help you, because you want to do 301 in this case, redirect for that stuff? Yeah,
that's right. So that's the thing that makes sure all the Google juice, link juice, whatever you want to call it, is passed over from one domain to the other.
And do you know about, there's different ways, techniques for redirecting. And like, for example, if you do it in WordPress, you might not know the answer to this. Maybe someone in the channel does. Some people say use PHP for the redirect, or other people say use htaccess for the redirect. Does anyone know what the difference between those is?
It depends how lower level you're working, but it's all basically the same thing. Even in WordPress with a redirect plugin, it can still do a 301 redirect for you.
Yeah.
I know even in GoDaddy, if you use that as your domain registry tool, there's an option for redirecting a domain there, and you can do a 301 redirect to redirect a whole domain over. So again, that could be an option.
Okay. And so I'm just going to be going through my site. I'm going to be redirecting the articles that relate to this topic of product and marketing for software companies. Is there anything else I should consider? Is there any other mistakes people make when they're doing this? Or is it really as simple as doing 301 redirects and then I'm gonna have to wait a little while before it kind of takes hold, right?
Yeah, so it'll take a little while, not too long. 301 redirects, yeah, that's the most important thing. I'm just trying to think. I mean, if you've got all the sites set up individually at the moment in Google Search Console, then it should detect any errors. Screaming Frog is a good tool for spidering an entire site, and then you can check that each URL that you have redirects to, you know, somewhere on your new site from all the different domains.
There's a tool called Screaming Frog.
Yeah.
Also from the UK.
They might be actually. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, they've got a .co.uk. This is it, right?
That's right. Yeah, that's that's in every SEO consultant's, one of the tools that's in their kind of backpack of things to use.
And so are you talking about the spider tool? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, so you can just spider all your existing domains, you can just spider them and then export the report. So you've got a full list then of all the URLs. And then once you're redirecting your site, you can then just go and check and it's a bit of a manual thing. And there may be a way to automate it as well. You can go and check that each URL does redirect to a new place and doesn't just throw any errors or something.
Gotcha. And then the other thing Michael Buckbee is saying is there's a lot of weirdness with SSL as well, which you should watch out for. It's easy to lose UTM codes and refers when setting up redirects. So that would be something. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, I can prepare as much as I want, but eventually I have to make a decision and just do it and then see what happens. There might be some hiccups along the way.
And but you can obviously do one site at a time as well, and you know, get someone from your community to give you a hand and look over it. I'll be happy to have a look over and see if there's anything, you know, obvious.
Yeah, this has been really instructive for me. I think just this idea of, and actually I think this is a mistake a lot of product people make, is we love buying domains. And so when we start a new project, our first step is to buy a new domain. But, you know, in the case of, it would be interesting to know what happened to 37 Signals SEO, because they went from 37 Signals and then slash, and then their blog, and then slash every product, like, you know, except they had Basecamp HQ. So they never really did do the parent domain thing.
They did they not have, like for Campfire, didn't have a separate domain and stuff like that though?
Yeah, I think that they did. They always had separate. They always had separate products. So they made exactly the same SEO mistake, but maybe for them it didn't matter.
But to be honest, you know, they're a bit of a standout case where they have so many links pointing to each domain probably anyway that they can get away with it.
Yeah.
And so again, when they do all bring them all together, you know, that's a win-win again for them. So
yeah. So part of your advice is to go back to 94 and start building links back then, and then you just do it long enough, you'll have so many links you won't know what to do with.
Exactly.
Cool. Anything else we should talk about? And even in the chat here, if you folks have anything else before we go today, Nick, this has been really helpful, especially I think because I've just started to use Ahrefs and seeing how you use it. Like you said, maybe other people use it differently, but just seeing where you go and then kind of where you're looking is really helpful.
Yeah, I guess I meant to say this at the beginning as well. You know, I by no means consider myself an SEO expert, so everything that kind of I say, you should fact check yourself. And you know, I'm always learning and always trying to pick up the new tips and tricks. Well, there's not so much tricks. You know, it's still the same thing of content, links, and so on. But yeah, certainly fact check everything that I've said to make sure it's correct. And it might not be correct in 2 years' time either. So
yeah, I mean, with all of this stuff, I think really you need to try it out. I think actually this is a good message for anyone who's listening or watching. Is I felt forever like SEO was just like whatever, not worth my time, or maybe it had the reputation of being kind of dirty, and you know, I just wasn't interested for whatever reason. But I think the mistake I made is I just discounted it without having really tried it. And it took me sitting next to Brian Dean at a speaker dinner. Brian has a site called Backlinko. And I didn't realize he was an SEO until it was too late. And then all of a sudden I was talking to him and I'm like, this guy's this guy's a good guy. And he was amazed that I hadn't done anything. And that kind of started my search and going, you know what, I really need to at least do some research and try some of this for myself. And once I started doing that, I started seeing results. So I think if you've been discounting SEO as something that's dirty or not interesting or whatever, I think you should try it and get some data points. And a good place to do that is with Nick's app, sanitycheck.io. Is there still a free trial for Sanity Check?
Yeah, there's a 14-day free trial, but if anybody that's watching this or part of the community wants to just drop me an email or reply to like the introduction email that I send out, I'm happy to extend that.
Yeah, I definitely recommend. He sends out, Nick sends out these, I think they're daily or weekly reports. And if you are having a hard time thinking about SEO, they're a nice trigger, a reminder to go, hey, I should go check some things out. And he also has some advice in those emails as well and inside the product. So sanitycheck.io. Thanks again for your time.
No problem. It's been good fun. Thanks.
And I think we might have to do a follow-up too to see, first of all, what were we able to apply for a roadmap? And then second of all, how did my big consolidation experiment go? And we'll see how things improved.
Okay, awesome.
All right. Thanks again. See you guys later. Thanks for watching live, everyone that watched live. Goodbye.